Excuse me. Young fella, wasn't that all dependent on the outfalls, the down back bay, because the water was going in the river?
Well,
Three quarters of the problem wasn't it? That's why it concentrated on.
Back Bay has always been a very compelling project because of the drainage issues, the flooding. We've touched on potential groundwater issues still from Temple Stewart, and knowing that the last time the infrastructure was even touched in Back Bay was when they put the sewer in the 70s. It definitely made for a compelling neighborhood argument for many factors, and that's why the town has been so successful, because it's always been a project that needs funding, a very good project that needs funding, versus finding a project that doesn't have money.
I'll make the motion. We've got the senior center, Phoenix Court as the backup for the CDBG program. All right, second that.
Pat, this is for the backup of number 5. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Virginia.
Yes.
And Julie.
Yes.
What do we say, we'll better late than never? You have 15 minutes.
All right, everybody, if you should be off, sit down, you're allowed.
Gonna have a member of my board come up. Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank the selectmen for entertaining us for this evening. I know you have a busy schedule, and I know that since our past cooperation, and also in the spirit of collaboration, we want to share some goals and visions of the advisory board. Give you a little update since we reorganized. I think last time I came to the board, I talked about our reorganization, and if we did have a full board. I want to ensure that the selectmen are well aware that we've had excellent participation in the 3 months that we've had meetings. We've been quite busy in the last couple of months, not only doing reserve fund allocations as well as end-of-year transfers, but we've been busy on a number of other issues. When we ended up reorganizing and I was elected the chairperson, I felt it was my responsibility to provide the leadership and direction, such as the chairman of the select board we end up doing on particular issues. The first couple of things that we'll be going over, I'm going to ask each of my members to end up telling you what we've passed as our advisory board, and I think you have copies here, so you can end up telling all of us. And the first individual I'd like to end up having discuss, talk about is Joe Boyd about our vision statement.
Walk into the microphone.
My voice is loud enough to be able to hear me. The vision is the finance committee will be fiscally responsible to the residents and the business of the town. Templeton so that the town has the financial resources to achieve its stated goals while minimizing taxes and fees on its residents and its businesses. Our mission is, of the finance committee, is to be effectively and efficiently safeguarded and account for the town resources, to provide financial-based services that offer all town departments the ability to deliver their programs and offer financial support to these departments and residents of the community. Also, to provide the leadership and the guidance to the town departments and residents of the community, and to ensure town departments deliver exceptional services while optimizing financial resources.
A follow-on to that is that you'll also see, we believe in transparency as to what we're doing for the community. You'll see this mission and vision statement on the website, the town website. You'll also see the minutes as soon as they're accepted, not only be posted with the town clerk, but they will be on the website. The next thing that we addressed was some goals that we are looking to adopt this year. And I'll have Darren present those.
Okay, the goals that the advisory board voted to focus on for this particular year. The first one was to develop a document to handle end of the fiscal year account transfers for the advisory board and select board, as well as the accountant to review and or approve. This is something that's already a work in progress and should be accomplished sooner than later. The second goal that we've set for ourselves is to develop and approve the advisory board vision and mission statements, which Joe just read for you, so that's one we can actually check off as mission accomplished. That's posted on our website as well mentioned. The third goal is to begin the budgetary review process for fiscal year 14 in the December to January timeframe, which I think is a little bit earlier than has been the case, but the sooner the better. The next goal is to establish a 3 to 5 year anticipated budget, beginning with fiscal year 14 by March of 2013. Again, that's a process that we're hoping to put in place for the long term. The next goal, develop and approve a set of initial financial policies for the town of Templeton. We've made some great progress as a board on that front, and that's a document that you'll probably be seeing sooner than later also. Develop and establish a schedule for stipends for town boards and committees. There was some discussion at a recent select board meeting about, or one of the meetings, personnel or otherwise, about reinstating stipends, and the advisory board would like to look into how some of those stipends can be put back into place. And finally, as Will mentioned, our goal is to post the minutes and request for reserve funds document, as well as the end of the year transfers document and advisory goals on the advisory page, which I believe we have some of these already, but we're working on, once the rest have been created, we will post them there.
One of the things that we'd like to end up encouraging the other boards to, and committees, to adopt goals and to work towards those goals through this next year. If we go from year to year without goals, we won't necessarily meet any objectives. If you at least have some goals, you at least have the opportunity and the fortitude and drive for those particular goals. The next particular thing that we ended up running across, and this is because we ended up having a reserved request for monies from one of the departments, that we came across the documentation to provide to us to accept that was lacking. And that we had multiple documents for this particular request. Seeing that, we ended up looking at a number of other boards and committees with the best in practice. I won't throw these all on the table, but I did at my particular meeting, and I got plenty of attention. These are all the inputs that we got from all committees and boards in the community and departments. One of the things that we noticed was there were as many as 5 or 6 different ways people inputted into the time sheets every week for payroll. The other thing that we noticed is there was just as many ways that they were putting in for the accruals, vacation, sick, and personal. With the help of the town coordinator and also with our fair secretary there, the inputs that we got, we ended up having the time sheet that you have before you. You'll notice a number of things on there, and I'll just point these out as to why the color is there. The white areas are basically there as a black.
We don't have that.
Oh, you don't have? Oh. All right, let me talk to each individual one. Under the regular hours, the subtotal column, the OT column, the DT column, and the total hours, and all the ones, the numbers at the bottom, those have automatic files that end up doing the calculations. We made this as user-friendly as possible. All you have to end up doing is putting the date, time in, time out, whether you work overtime, whether you work double time, and that's not necessarily all the departments, but we took into consideration all the departments on this. And we took into consideration the vacation, sick, and personal time. So under those particular columns, if you put any information there, it's all done automatically. The other thing is that we also know that on the budgetary hours, you'll see a number there. We know that not all departments are working 40 hours, and that was taken in consideration that we had a number of cuts that were made, so we put the budgetary hours in there as to what they were actually working. And if you look at the hourly pay rate, no matter what the individual is or makes, it will do the calculations based upon that pay rate for the grand totals on the bottom. This presents two things that we saw lacking: accountability and efficiency, and it addresses that. Because if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, where we talk about the accruals, vacation, sick, and personal, those, believe it or not, those totals, if you look at the columns on the B, S, and P, actually come down in hours used and come right off of the accrual hours that are available. So that the balance forward is the actual balance after the week. One of the nice things that I think this will provide, since we don't have it on our paychecks, is I think it was either one or two of the departments that I had gone to. Employees were always asking us, how much time do I have? A copy of this, once they sign and accountable, whether they get it weekly or periodically, they'll be able to end up seeing what their sick, vacation, and personal time. Having that said, we're actually with very strong recommendations, because the first two also passed unanimously as well as this one. But this one passed with a very strong recommendation that time sheets for all the employees, because of the efficiency in tracking and also the accountability, that we would, at this particular time, would like the board to take and end up also voting their approval for this going forward, and have this adopted so we can start using it and get a little efficiency. I know we're looking at doing a new system as far as software. This may end up playing and make it also easier.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the
what they work that week, should there be something under hours earned for that time period, or?
I didn't put it in, because that's something that they can end up actually putting in. I want to at least show you that whatever was used could be taken off. If you actually end up putting anything in the earned column, because you have a formula in the balance, it also takes into account that. So if you end up putting any information into the hours earned, it will end up taking and calculating the balance of the accruals. Does that answer your question? It does. Yeah.
Do different employees earn vacation, sick, and personal hours at different rates?
I can answer that. Yes, union employees under a union contract earn at different rates than town employees under the town personnel policy. They're similar, but they're different. There's no one who's a huge outlier, but they're slightly different accrual rates. And it will be the department head responsible for double checking an employee's timesheet to make sure those hours are when plugged in.
Or we could have, when they offer, we could have it calculated based on the employee's name or account number. Automatically calculate what the hours
Virginia?
The way Jeff explained this to me the other day, so I think that everybody has to hear. Basically, he's going to tell all of the employees, either they pass one of these in every week, or they don't get paid. And there will be no exceptions.
That's what they should be, for accountability.
Sue?
I just had a question for Julie's motion. Did she say effective what, when?
I didn't put effective date, no, you don't want.
We leave that to the town coordinator and the board to institute the day. We're just here to recommend something for accountability and efficiency.
I would say if Jeff feels it's reasonable, maybe October 1. That was the first week in October. I don't know how soon.
Well, we can't do it in the middle of the time. We can start pretty much
Like the first full
like the first full week of September.
September.
We'll start September. Well, it's a
So
holiday.
that would be next week.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if you needed it.
It's a matter of what the department heads and their timekeepers will take the time to fill out the sheet and changes. And it will be actually the same amount of effort when you do it the first week of September, the first week of October, because it's the switchover that's going to cause the effort.
Well, determining what everybody has officially right now.
We're very, very close to perfect totals right now.
One other comment I'd like to make, because there's some departments that say, well, this is more paperwork. In the scheme of things, the paperwork for the entire amount of employees bring in is about the same. For some departments, it may be slightly higher. But take a department such as the treasurer's office. 2 individuals, they actually put in 4 sheets to accomplish what this one sheet does for each individual. So that's 2 sheets for that. So it cuts their amount of paperwork in half.
Yes.
The folks, I have about 9 drivers that don't go into a computer to do this. How is that going to be worked out?
Is that because they're not fully?
They're on the road, they're not in the office. They come in the office, they have a manifest that they receive every day,
Yep.
and their hours are based on that manifest when they come back. So how are they going to get their hours into this timesheet if they do not access the computer on a daily basis? Another question,
That would be for the department head that they can keep track of that.
Another question then, also, I'm gonna have to submit 2 of these because I'm half paid by Mart, which is a totally different account. There's 2 different accounts. One is for Mart, one is for the town. So am I still going to be turning in 2 of these?
This is an account specific, it has an account number on it, but the tracking of your total hours is not account specific.
So do I divide my time, my accrued time, half by Mart, half by the town?
on the one sheet?
No, they have, if they work 3 days a week, they have 3 different timesheets. That all gets into the cover sheet that I submit every week.
So you do it. You
No,
will
the
do it.
bookkeeper does that.
Yeah.
So they would be, so the bookkeeper would be doing their timesheets.
Yes. Whoever's doing their time now will do the sheet. The bookkeeper.
Wouldn't the driver themselves do it online and then submit it back? Well, submit it
Do
to,
it online. Anybody, this spreadsheet can be emailed anywhere on the planet. You can do it at home on your.
So I'm gonna have to get email addresses, email it to them, and then I'm gonna have to have and sign them.
No, the driver here, let me explain to the entire town of Templeton the reason why we're doing this.
I don't see why they're being done.
Whether the advisory likes it or not, you're required under state law to sign your timesheet. It's a matter of state law.
Right.
And we want a department head or supervisor's counter signature, thereby binding the department head or supervisor to the numbers on the employee's timesheet. This is accountability 101. And that's the driver. Actually, whether you do one sheet or two, yes, we want to collect all the other information. Yes, it's important. Without accountability, there is no governance. So the driver of this process is getting 2 signatures on one sheet that says, I agree I work these hours, and as a supervisor, I second that.
Okay, so I'm gonna have all of my drivers come in on Monday and sign these. Mind you, some of them work 2 days a week, some of them work 3 days a week on totally different days. So I'm gonna have to pay them to come in to sign the time sheet.
They can sign it on Friday if they're done.
They probably won't be done,
Saturday or
some aren't
Sunday.
done until Friday at 4 o'clock.
What are they doing now?
How do you do it now?
It gets submitted on Friday and it's done on Monday morning.
They don't sign.
And they don't
They,
sign it?
their manifest is signed off on, they initially.
No, it's your law to change your process in certain places. That's fact.
I'm assuming, Will, this is an Excel spreadsheet?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so if anybody who isn't familiar with Excel here, it's fantastic and it's all formulated. So you just put in what, clock in, clock out, blah, blah, blah. Boom, it's done. It formulates everything else, there's no thinking to it. And, it's about time we all get on the same page.
Well, when
Good
you
job,
look at, when you look at the major departments, okay, such as highway, cemetery, and your sewage board, which I talked to also, they all have time clocks. It's a matter of transposing all that time onto the sheets. Dan, first,
So the process then would be for a person to use at their computer or something, fill in the spreadsheet, and then print the spreadsheet so you can sign it, and then submit the printed form. So we won't be submitting them electronically.
That's correct.
And if people choose not to use the spreadsheet to fill it out, they can have a blank one and just fill it in by hand if they choose. Is that accurate?
Diana can put it in the computer.
I can't see a reason why anybody would want to do that, but if there are people that want to do that, that's fine.
No, I think what he's saying, what he's saying is for the van drivers, they could just take a blank one, pencil it in, then Diana, who's the bookkeeper over there, could then enter it into the computer and boom, for them if they're not computer literate. Signature on file.
hold on. When do we go on to the hard drive? When the treasurer does it, or when they do it?
Define hard drive.
Well, so
The town's books.
So it calculates into the account.
It doesn't. It's just, you must have a paper record on file for the auditors, and that's what this
I'm
is.
still going to be inputting.
Yeah, the data is still going to be manually keyed into the payroll system by a payroll clerk, currently Kiva. She still has to key the data in, which will come off of each of these sheets once they're properly submitted and signed.
Any other? Yes?
I understand the spreadsheet and how it's going to work. What I'm not clear on is the people in my department who are paid out of 2 different accounts. You don't want a spreadsheet for each account? So then it's, because I was told that the accountant or the treasurer were not responsible for determining how much came out of each account, that we had to supply that information.
How do you do it now?
I supply that information. I do
Who do you
2
supply it to?
Actually, I do 3. I give it to the treasurer on different spreadsheets. At the top of the spreadsheet is the account number.
So I would assume you have to include it in your book.
Yes.
Okay.
But we still have to do 2.
Okay.
Yeah. That way we can keep the. Any other discussion?
Have a motion on the floor. The motion on the floor, just to repeat, is to adopt this time sheet, and I don't know, do we come up with an effective date?
Monday, September, or Labor Day, the 3rd.
Suggestion?
Yes.
You might want to think about instituting it around October 1st, it's at the beginning of the second quarter, first of all. It gives an extra month to get people familiar with the process. You may want to take at least 1 pay period and submit the papers and compare it against whatever method you currently have to see if there are anything falls out of it.
That's probably going to happen. Just get their own.
But this means you'll take it seriously.
Well, no, because once you institute it, if they don't submit the paper, they don't get
They
paid.
don't get paid.
See what I'm saying?
Educational orientation, maybe.
Diana?
They didn't have to, is the employee didn't have to sign the thing? The thing every week?
Yes, the employee.
Yes.
I was thinking, maybe you guys should just make a motion to accept this wonderful spreadsheet, and then maybe Mr. Ritter could have a department head meeting at some time and tell everybody how the heck to fill them out.
I didn't put a date in my motion.
Before midnight, please.
Just so everybody knows, this is a requirement that's been in the personnel policy for a long time, it just hasn't been enforced. It's been in there for a long time. A centralized sheet of all approvals and everything was supposed to be coming for, says personnel policies. It's been in there, it just hasn't been enforced. And all it's simply doing now is enforcing.
So you're resistant, you want to get paid to do it.
Let me just say this. We had 2 people in the private sector, one a manager, one at supervision, in private enterprise. We had very little discussion on this. Basically, it was the formulas in there? It looks good because it's got accountability from a perspective of management. It's the way to go. People just don't like it.
So we have a motion to implement the new payroll sheet, so we don't have a date on it, which is fine, it's just to take care of that. So we're going to take a vote on, hopefully within the next week. Patrick? Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And Julie?
Yes.
Continue on.
Thank you very much.
What else you got in the next, like, 5 minutes?
You know, hard for us to get out of here. The next thing is that we had come out and we're presenting to the Board of Selectmen for consideration and action a number of financial goals and recommendations that we felt it was more appropriate for the select board to address rather than the advisory board. Beginning with exploring interest rates on long and short-term bonds for lower rates. We know some of them that cannot be done. We know that 252 is coming due, and that's going to be addressed also. But there are a number of them that are 5% that should at least be looked at. There's a potential savings here of tens of thousands of dollars to the community, and we're looking at it from that perspective. This next one, since we had two of the select members at our meeting, the board has already ended up doing this, reestablish the insurance board in the first quarter. You've already accomplished that. That's a good goal for you, but they can say that you've accomplished without actually having the goal per se. As far as the insurance board, we need to think and end up seeking the town insurance for FY14, and it's been at least 6 years, if not longer. And as I alluded to at one particular time, when I had been in the treasurer's office, Debbie had an individual come from the insurance company. He looked at our present insurance and said, just looking at it at a glance, said, I could save 80,000 plus. So, I mean, there's a potential for savings there. It's been too long. And it's a competitive market, and I think that we should end up driving that. In the fiscal year 14, we need to look at centralization of the office supply purchases. Establish one centralized office supply area and develop a process to continually monitor the inventory. We have that ability if we move into East Templeton, by the way. We already have seen one room that will fit that very well, especially if you have that many offices there. In FY14, centralize the procurement of all supplies for greater accountability and also a greater efficiency. Explore performance contracting opportunities for East Templeton Elementary School in order to consolidate town offices. That's one that I alluded to earlier when we talked about the block grants is one that we should also be looking at. Establish an inventory of all town items to better manage replacement and acquisition. In looking at things within the town-owned, I was told that we had a personal computer for the advisory board, but it's disappeared. Also was told that we had a digital recorder. Don't have that out either. And having that on an inventory and having a responsible party, advisory, or on the advisory, so basically it's a master listing on an Excel sheet of all our assets, either large or small. They will disappear if you don't. People lose track of things, whether it's done purposely or just people forget to bring them back to the community. We also have an opportunity, especially with the senior write-off program for the abatements. We could have seniors do that if they have the expertise and at least Excel. If not, we can end up helping them. This one here is develop a fund for employee separation costs, including benefits for unused sick, vacation leave, and other benefits. Now, we want to talk about two particular areas that we looked at this one. We didn't specify one over the other. We had an individual, because his appointment was not funded, we owed him some money. There should have been some funding already there for that, as well as retirement. You've got a long-term liability here that's opposing to all communities. And if you at least establish a fund and start looking at that, and I will allude to the benefits of all of this later on, that we should actually look at that. And explore using CPA monies for the renovation of East Templeton Elementary School. Well, we've taken and looked at that, and at some later date, particularly after after probably September 11, and that's not significant because of what happened in New York. We'll be going to the historical committee, and we also went to the CPA committee. And if that's a historical building and deemed a historical building, CPA money could be used to help renovate that and at least stabilize that. You have an asset right now that if we continue to let that building sit, it will deteriorate and will be no use to this community. Whereby 252 is not necessarily the same type of building. Saying that, we're encouraging the board to adopt those goals and recommendations, especially those for East Templeton, and we'll be back later for information on the CPA. The last thing I want to end up presenting is, so my board members will bring this up, is a financial policy that was written by the advisory board and approved by the advisory board. In fact, all of the things that we bring to you this evening were unanimously approved. That doesn't necessarily mean the board approved everything unanimously. There was a number of things that we didn't approve unanimously. We'd like to think it about coming back sometime in September, hopefully in the September 10th timeframe. And we'd like to think it about having the board review these policies. Because what it does is it gets better financial management for the community. And we're hoping that after you've looked at them, that you adopt them at the next meeting if you have any questions. Financial policies complement the budget process. Policies are long-term visions, not just from town meeting to town meeting or from year to year. Good policies stand longer with acceptance from different boards, such as yours and ours. If the two of us go forward with this, the community knows that we're looking for the financial well-being of the community. And lastly, even with the unfunded liability that I talked about earlier, financial policies do this. Bond rating agencies will improve our bond rating because they see we have financial policies and we're financially responsible. And we put things in place that help the community. Now, some of those, that being said, we know that some of those financial things in the policy won't necessarily be met for the first year. But we believe that if you don't have a financial policy, you will have nothing to meet. And you will continue to go on year after year. We leave you with that, and hopefully that you'll invite us back. Without controversy.
Thank you very much.
Bill, I just had a quick question on your goals. You were talking about insurance. Is that health insurance or insurance for the town, like a liability insurance?
Both.
Oh, okay, both. That's it.
Yes. Because there's a number of things that have to be looked at from the perspective of the community. As everybody well knows, that even in the health care sector, that even in the private sector, that they've actually upped the amount that employees pay, as well as deductibles, as well as other fees that are responsible. So that's something that the town needs to really look at, to get more in line with what's really happening today, to try to get controls under, as far as the costs are concerned, that we get more control on that in the forthcoming year, because it's not going to be easy going for the next couple of years, I believe. Thank you very much for that.
Byrne.
This is more or less just the board request, well, this was brought up by a few members of the board, questions as to where the seniors were working because of Narragansett wanting people, and now you're, so I think it should be brought up in discussion. That's why someone just said, well, email the board of selectmen and we'll get it on the agenda. I think the big issue there is, we, the town, are paying for this.
Yep.
We're taking this out of our overlay, which we raised on the recap sheet. Why is Narragansett getting a benefit from this? Unless they're gonna reimburse us. So go ahead, take the discussion away, Chris.
Well, I didn't know until the other day that they were actually working for the school, so that was news. I was kind of surprised I didn't hear that. So I don't know who brought it up originally, but that is a good point. Do we know, do you have like 1 or 2 people right now working at the school?
I don't know, I think, I mean, does the board of selectmen want to know where these people are being placed?
Well, I don't know who brought the question up, so I'm looking for them to.
Well, I think when they were, Sue and I were talking, I actually said that, where are we putting these people? And when she said they were at the school, it just caused me pause. So, I don't know.
Yeah, the assessors just do the financial thing, and then it goes to council on aging, where Eileen places them. And there's only so far 3 people who have qualified, 1 who is working at, or is, have you started? Yes. Doc was placed at Narragansett.
Okay. Did somebody approach you on that, or did you approach the school, or how did that work?
The school asked me,
Okay. Like-
if they could participate. I figured they were a school, a town department, received town taxes, so they should qualify. Do they not receive town tax money?
Well, they get a lot of that tax money.
Yeah.
But this is taken from the town, taken from our side of the budget.
I had requested all the departments to submit a job title, a brief list of job duties, and who the supervisor was. I only received from 3 departments, the school, the library, and the sewer department. That was it.
So who is it?
Nobody else submitted for help.
It seems like the police department should need somebody. They must have a paperwork up to here.
I've requested several times. I've requested 3 or 4 times over the past year for job descriptions and have not received them.
Debbie's gonna bring it up at one of the next staff meetings, and see if we can get more participation. Well, they may be just,
If it's in a program, we should just set it up, so I think learning the process. We might get more people just to participate.
Just out of curiosity, was it was it Ruth Miller, or was it like the principal of the school? Or?
Actually, she had Sandy call me.
Okay.
Ruth had Sandy call me to see if they would be eligible.
Okay.
And then I spoke with Sandy and she asked. So I didn't see a problem with it. If it was a problem with it, I just didn't know.
Anybody on the board?
I will provide at the next staff meeting update on this.
Is there anything we want to do at this time as far as them working in the school system?
nobody else is asking for it.
I don't know.
I just think we should reimburse the town for
department.
Selectmen's office, and I'll have to tell you, Dawn is good. She's,
Maybe you don't realize.
Dawn is good, and he, honestly, if I knew Dawn was gonna be available, the assessors would have put something in.
I just want to give kudos to Eileen and Sue for working on this program. You don't realize how talented our seniors are. We have volunteers, it's unbelievable.
People, I can't hear.
They're actually letting us know some things that perhaps we did not, like gossip and stuff, but just a different way of doing things, or the job's incredible. She took us to the highway when Anne Marie was out. Unbelievable talent. So that's a great resource that these girls are tapping into, so you should be very proud of them. So,
And I do know that the person that Irene placed over at the sewer department, Linda just had nothing but praise to say and stuff like that. And I think, I mean, come on, it's so many hours a week. It's not gonna replace, I mean, I think maybe if you let all the departments know, Angie won't replace you. And all that stuff, I mean, maybe that's what some of the time, but maybe through all the turmoil and everything that went on with the cutting of the budgets, maybe, because honestly, we were working with Lori to request somebody who could come in and vacuum and do that kind of stuff. Maybe if we got, maybe a maintenance kind of person. And I think it just, we kind of got too busy with everything else, and Lori leaving, we never got to finish our requests. Board of Health could use somebody right now.
So I don't know if it's worth having a discussion.
Don't want to go there.
I see, to explain maybe to her that we don't mind if somebody works out of the school, but we would like some kind of reimbursement for work, because it's coming out, it's coming out of our taxes.
The towns.
The town tax pays, not the school tax pays.
All right.
Reaching the wire, Mr. Chairman. This is a tax expenditure by any other name. We are taxing ourselves to give seniors a break. Everyone else in town has to pay higher taxes so that the people qualified into this program have their taxes reduced. We have not reduced the total tax burden of the community. It is the same. We have in fact given a benefit, a tax expenditure, to one group of individuals by taxing ourselves more. They do this in Washington, D.C. all the time. Now we're doing it in Templeton. And we, as a community, need to be aware of it, understand the cost of it, the impact of it, and recognize that where we choose to place the senior workers in our community are the people who benefit from the tax expenditure. The Narragansett Regional School District, with all due respect, is not the town of Templeton and is taxed separately from the town of Templeton. They have their own tax authority as a regional school district, which we pay a substantial part of, but so does Phillipston, so does the Commonwealth. And they raise revenues from a lot of sources. So the issue that's been raised is an important one to understand. I don't think it's going to be resolved this evening. It doesn't have to be resolved. I just think that Sue has raised a very good issue for us to be aware of. I'm happy to talk with the superintendent and see where she wants to go, but I think in the meantime, we should let people serve in the school while we have the discussion and see where we go from.
Yeah, because I know, override, so I'm sure her filling in is helping her great. And so,
I'll discuss it and report back.
all right, discussion on auditor of sportsman club building permit anyway. We have from I believe, really, the fees that they paid and what was owed and why. So it sounds like the only thing not paid is just actually the building of the plant, which is $5,072.
No,
we did not.
voted to find out how much.
Right, all we do. We're going to do all the next meetings. So this is what it is.
I'll make a motion to waive $1,000 from the building permit fee for the clubhouse. Yeah. I
So there's a motion to waive 1,000 to 5,017. Is there a second before we discuss? The motion on the floor is to waive 1,000 of the $5,017 clubhouse fee. And it has not been seconded yet. I really don't want to discuss it until it's seconded.
I'll second it just for purposes of discussion.
Yeah, we have to vote for it.
Well, the only reason I'm talking about this is that I've gotten fees, the fee schedules from a number of departments, and looking at how much fees that the building department takes in, they barely pay, if not for the secretary, let alone for the inspector himself. So, I mean, I have to agree that you don't want to end up giving away the whole 10 yards here because we have a department that's really not self-sufficient.
Any other discussion? Anybody on the board? Seeing no discussion, we will take a vote on the motion to waive $1,000 in the fee. Julie?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
Patrick?
Yes.
So can we say it already? Update on Chapter 90 money. I have a very good Kate says, available money in Chapter 90 is $415,480.
Yeah, I don't think that's sufficient to be able to make decisions, to base our decisions on. I've written down a number of figures, and I'm not sure if they're accurate or not, from what I think we have committed. Phase 4, I believe it was 160, not up to 125. Phase 5, Fisher Street was up to 125, because it was just one street. The Ballville Road, the engineering, is 131. Granted, that would be next year. Chapter 90 isn't the slam dunk it used to be. And so I think we need to be really aware of where we've pledged and committed money, especially Chapter 90 money, so that we're not in a situation where we've over-committed the amount of money that we have allotted. You know, we took money out for the damages for Ballville Road as well, for the eminent domain takings. That was $4,900, plus we have to pay attorney's fees and filing fees as well. So once you start looking at some of these figures, and then there's a proposal, you know, if we do phase 6, that's another 25. It narrows our options as a town, and we haven't built a road. Okay. You know, it'll be going toward Ballville Road and back there. Part of that money does go to building the roads.
So we have our... So next up, we have a few appointments. We've got 3 or 4 of them. Recreation Commission, 1-year appointment, Phil Melton, through 6/30/12. Stormwater Committee, Phil Ledger from the Board of Health, 1 year to 6/30/12. This one on top also? Lisa, go ahead. ACO, 28/27/12 to 4/30/12? 13.
4:30.
What,
It
4/30?
says 12.
Their appointments are always.
Oh, that's right.
4:30.
Right. And then, Emergency Management Agency, Bob Sands, Assistant Deputy Director, through 6/30/12.
Can we add some other ones? I would like to, first of all, I'm on the Regional Agreement Committee, and Kate says she has no verification of that, not attending meetings at that time, but that, that may have been,
That may have expired on the 30th of June.
that's what I'm saying,
Oh,
that
okay.
may be expired, so
Hey, what committee is it?
that's,
Narragansett Regional School District Agreement Committee.
regional agreement committee.
I'll make a motion to appoint Virginia Wilder to the Narragansett Regional School Agreement Committee to expire June 30th, 2013.
So there's 5 appointments.
And also, we would like to get the, I was talking to Beth, and I would like to, and he said that was a good idea, to get the government study committee up and running again.
And I think we'll have to have that discussion another time. Because, I mean, we have to approach all the members and whatnot. Okay. So we have 4, so I need a motion for the others as well.
As read.
Okay. Second. Yes, Dan?
Just a point of order, when you were reading off the appointment expiration dates,
Yeah, 2013.
it's 13, so because you're voting on it, I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
They're all 2013. They're all 6:30 except for Lisa. Yeah. That's what it is.
Ain't supposed to do.
All right, so Pat? Yeah.
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Then Julie?
Yes.
So we need to get a hold of the public service.
Yeah,
I just have to one minute, Virginia brought up, there is a government study committee, it's defunct. If the board would so direct, we could send letters out, invite people, if they're interested in continuing to participate, reform the committee, we've done that for several other committees, and I'd certainly take your direction on that if you would so direct.
And I would like the private road and the skate park, because I think there's actually a need for the seal code and the planning board to do the tennis court at the tennis center.
Okay.
But definitely a committee to be able to approach the planning board to get that done.
And so the state park committee?
Skate park is yeah.
Well, they really, they want.
Well, it's the same.
It's the same as another society.
We never dissolved.
We just almost approved.
So I'll send you,
Well, if they weren't meeting, can we put that, things out to public, we put it on the police court hands? Because it's in public safety.
Procedurally, if you can, not to be back.
Isn't that Parks and Recreation?
Sue's probably got better points, so more of a
Parks and
person.
cemetery.
Yeah, whatever, that's right.
Well, no,
The Parks and Rec committee.
no, Parks and cemetery.
Because I think, excuse me, can I speak, I think Alan's the one who like knows what's running the skateboard park.
Right.
The one that, I know when we were looking to do some fundraising with all of the money there, he said that the skateboard park is something like $25 or $2,800 in their account. So I think he's the one that we might want to talk to.
well,
Speak up then.
Yes,
I couldn't hear you. We're talking about the skate park funds for what?
they want to reestablish the skateboard park committee because they want to pay the tennis court where the skate park is.
Pay?
They want to believe, right? They want
No, sorry.
to seal. They want to seal.
Okay. Yeah, because that account was established outside of planning, and so no one changed it, so that's all you gotta do. You can't, we have a price how much it is. I think there's like $3,000 in that account. Not exactly, in that.
I don't think it'll take that much.
I can't see where it can't be more than $1,500 to have it done.
I think Alan's gotten prices. I think you should have.
And we meet tomorrow night, what I'm saying is somebody can make a phone call, whoever, tell them.
Yes. If they're just going to take and end up doing a seal coat, you have two options. If you end up buying the product and have people put it out, it's gonna be less than $500. If you have a company come in, it's gonna still be around $500. And the reason I know this is I just had my driveway done last year. And being on the lazier side, especially in the heat of the summer, I decided to take and do that because the cost, just to buy the material, was just about what this company could come in. It's a local company that ended up doing it for me.
So, yeah, I think she's right, I think Alan has got prices on
So do we need to reestablish the
that.
committee?
I don't think so, because Kirk said he's got prices. We did have a price. Well, we did. We want to reestablish.
And we established the government study. 7%.
So we have a motion to reestablish the government study committee, possibly the second. Julie made the motion.
They don't have to go to a town meeting. That was established at a town meeting when we first did it. That committee,
The selectmen can establish committees.
but it was done at town meeting though.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Actually, it was done at town meeting when we first did that.
Perhaps it was.
Right, to do the government study.
That's all right, I'm just saying it was.
It was at first, because
Thank you.
the town wanted it to be done.
The last time the government study was voted into existence was at the Board of Selectmen.
That's correct. To continue there. So, the motion is on the floor and seconded. Zach? Yes. Jeff?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And Julie? Okay, action to appoint in charge insurance committee. We had said we were going to have someone from the personnel board, board of selectmen, advisory board, a union member and a non-union member. That's what we discussed at the last meeting. And I have a letter here saying that Darren Elwell has been voted by the advisory board to be their representative on this insurance committee.
No, that's incorrect.
Oh, Will Spring is okay, Darrell sent the letter, sorry. I'm trying to half read. I'm trying to put you on something you don't want to do. Okay.
That makes sense.
So Wilford Spring for the advisory board.
If no one else has any designs on it, I would like to be the selectmen. Yeah, committee.
I think we still need to get it in the process.
Anybody object to Virginia for yours? A union member and non-union member. Have we discussed that with anybody?
We haven't, not discussed it with the, there have been some informal discussions with staff, not even with staff, but informal discussions.
So we need somebody from the personnel board to next supervisor meeting. We can put these two on the side and then
Can I volunteer as a non-union?
I would say yeah, but I think you should discuss it with other non-union people first and see.
I think we should put it out there to see what
Yeah.
there is.
But I mean, we're doing our board and they've already done their board, so those are the two we'll put on now and hopefully at our next meeting we'll get the three members No, it's gonna be a 5-member board.
How many people are non-union? Just one. No, like, out of the non-union people, how many is on?
17.
Oh, all right.
It's not many.
Less than 23.
23. Dan?
The treasurer has traditionally been a member of that board. I don't know if you want to continue that practice, but that's always been the practice.
So is that like a 16-member board or is it just somebody?
So, anybody want to make a motion to continue and go straight to the first time of this board?
So moved.
Second.
Jeff? Any other discussion? Seeing none. Julie?
Yes.
Virginia? Jeff?
Yes.
Yes. Hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have the other four members. Okay, Jeff's policy and procedures, everybody read it in the last 2 weeks.
It's very long and involved and
And there's a lot of, what I noticed was there's a lot of town administrator listings, and we don't have a town administrator.
I think we've got that.
And town administrator and the town coordinator have totally different functions in the town. And another thing we wanted to change, which was brought up at the last meeting, was to, under the forum section, including remote participation.
As you can see, we are also working on our own list of policies and procedures.
I'm glad to see that.
Here and here. Could take us a few months.
We started out
No, we started out before you. But by doing that, that's going to change some of the functionality, I think. Because the town administrator and the town coordinator can't necessarily do the same thing.
That's correct.
Well, you know what, I can use a new draft, if that will give me an electronic copy, I can use a new draft. Kate has one. And that was the second thing.
Under the quorum, to include remote participation somewhere. Did anybody ever have comments about it? Anything that didn't like it?
On page 4, under executive session,
Yeah.
at the end of that paragraph, it says executive session should only occur when all members are present.
Yeah.
That may just may not be feasible.
We have had executives about this.
Whenever possible, would be a good idea.
I don't know if we want to change that language to should. That doesn't have to occur with all present members.
I think Virginia had, just whenever
Whenever
possible,
Yeah.
instead of should.
Whenever possible, should.
Okay. Right. So, we're getting there. Anything else you want to mention?
No, I just,
We're beating it up.
I know, I put it together in about an hour.
Okay.
It's just,
All right, next item is discussion on clerical employee union notification. So I think we have a non-union member on that insurance board. Who's got info on this?
You can just receive the letter.
I have the letter from Paul here.
that is all we have.
Okay. So is he speaking for the non-union people, I take it, in this matter?
Well, he's speaking to those that sign cards
Okay.
notifying the town that a majority of them have signed. I'd make a couple of points of information for the board. Number one, department heads are technically not in the definition of the act as able to organize. Clerical employees can organize, but department heads, which is kind of a vague notion here, but are somewhat exempt. I'll use Sue as an example. In Sue's office, she, if in effect, is the department head, and she has a support person, Luann, sitting right next to her. Under the reading of the state statute, Sue could not vote to organize as a clerical employee, but Luann could, because of the definition of employee. Likewise, in the town collector's office, the town collector can't vote to participate in the union, but her assistant collector can as an employee of the department. So I can leave the particular language in question if you want, but that's just an interpretation of state law. We have not seen the list from the union as to who signed it, who didn't. So what constitutes a majority, whether they have a majority, is certainly a question to raise. I think we need to get to the bottom of that straight away, and with your direction, I will. The second issue is whether the town would require, the Board of Selectmen would require a union vote, or would simply, once we establish fact, allow them to organize, with a vote to allow them to organize without conducting a certified union vote, which has all those conditions. There has to be a voting place and ballots, and they have to come in and vote their ballot. There has to be, an appropriate enunciator and all of that. That is the discretion of the board. So I argue there's two steps for us really to respond to. First, let's get to the bottom of who can organize and who can't. We can do some research on that, I think, in a couple of weeks, come back with a definitive answer. And then of those who can and who've signed off as a majority, and once we know or don't know that the majority of those eligible to organize have done so, you can vote to allow them to go ahead or require them to take the vote.
I guess my first question would be, as Paul Coffey is a field rep for one of our other unions in town, this group would not be bunched with that group, I would hope, because it's two different work structures.
It would be a separate local in that union.
Okay.
A clerical local in the laborers union. They are laborers, but I'm sure it would be covered under a separate contract because it's a separate type of work.
Right.
Yeah, and Paul Coffey also represents the water department, which is separate from highway sewer. Those are two different contracts.
So it's the same union in a different level, and it would require us.
What about this part about having an independent person verify the cards and things like that?
Well, again, that's, you have a right under labor law. The town can appoint someone, or you can go to a third party who verifies that this is an open, legitimate, fair review process. Most of the state laws are written on the assumption that management's going to stand against organizing, that it's a big union organization campaign. Not the case here. It's a very limited number of employees, and I think we can work this out. I think it's important to recognize they have signed a card committing themselves to organizing, and that we need to respond to it. As I said, with your direction, I'll go back to the union. We'll sort out, fish from fowl and determine a way forward.
I would move that we allow Jeff to go ahead and find out whatever we need to find out and make whatever arrangements we need.
Yeah. Let's see if what.
So that they can find it really in the statutes.
We have a motion.
Second.
Any other discussion from the audience? Okay. Yes?
Just for informational purposes, I see some people here that might join the union. As a plumber, union member who voted, was in the bargaining unit twice, and once voted it out, you can end up voting a union in as well as voting a union out. I just wanted to throw that out there. So it's not necessarily binding upon the employees if they're not satisfied with that situation.
Okay, so the motion is to let Jeff investigate and check further.
Can you report back in 2 weeks?
Pat?
Yes.
Yes. Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Is this remote participation by Virginia?
She was still in the room when she voted, so.
You okay?
You okay? Yeah, I think she was getting here. The kids were right, they told me that he was on it. I think they were right. They said it was ridiculously high.
Get rid of that excess oil.
That's right.
I lost two members who were
We also move outside. That would be an awesome idea.
Okay, we'll try to carry on. This is just a discussion anyway, we'll be on your vote.
Rent out my dog the next week.
Your dog? Shall we put bathing suits? Discuss the county software and possible changes.
We have to look at the town accountant. And the town accountant has investigated the software that the town uses to keep its general ledger. It's a piece of software called City and Town. He's looked at the way the town has kept the record in books of the town and finds it lacks detail. He would like new software, which is not budgeted, but we would have to, in any event, move forward for July 1 next, because this software that we use is no longer supported. It's just about to be done with. So he just wants to bring it forward as a discussion item. He and I have started investigating possible software packages. We are open to any ideas anyone has for general ledger software and payroll accounting software. We spent a lot of time talking about payroll timesheets. In a new system, that's going to be automated, folks. It'll be electronically done rather than on paper. So whatever we do with timesheets is temporary. We don't have a budget. I don't want to form a big committee to do this, but I am welcome and open to any suggestions that members of the public or department heads or financially minded people have around the ideas of a general ledger and payroll package for the town. There's our current package, which is VADAR. There are 3 other packages that municipalities use and a few more that we are exploring. They're all very expensive, and that's the bad news. By very expensive, I mean you can't do this for less than 12 or 15,000, and some of them are 25 to 45 or 50, depending on how many bells and whistles you buy. So, really, it's just a point of information that we have to spend some money at some point.
Does Fred have a particular software that he would like to?
He does not have a bias. We have VADAR in the assessor, in the treasury, in the collector's office. It would make sense to add VADAR because it would all be nicely integrated, but we have not yet gotten much of a bargain in terms of negotiating with them, nor have we tried to negotiate very rigorously. We will be trying to do that, but it's not inexpensive.
We assign the principals of the financial department to come up with
Like that idea. And I have the financial officers in the town. Because they have to live with it. You know, that's the treasurer, the collector, the assessor, and the accountant. And charity advisory, because they're the financial officers. Leave the select board to the side, not out of it, but to the side while you decide, let us know what the best alternative is. Because if you ask the town coordinator, trust me, I want the $50,000 package. It would make my life so much easier, and it would do everything, and it would be completely accountable. That's my answer. I don't think that's what a taxpayer would answer, but that's my answer. So you don't like my answer, go get a different answer.
The standard answer is no.
He squeaks when he walks, so he's going back.
I think the accountant and I will bring it forward to that group and suggest maybe that they just move on with it.
All right, next is discuss and take action to request a written report from the water department about the water breaks on July 14th. And I actually took a jump on that. I talked to Mr. Driscoll and sent these along today. This is a report on the July 14th water. So if you want to look at it, we can discuss that in this meeting. Okay. That just saves a step anyway. Discuss vacation time and step increases for independently appointed town employees. I don't know what this is about. I refer to one person.
Yeah, we have run into a situation where we've had a disagreement over an interpretation for the director of the Board of Health. And the letter that we received on August 9th, it's in this packet somewhere, that I'm not sure who he was that was referred to in the letter, was going to move the Board of Health Director from a grade 10, I think, was it step 6 to a 7, with no vote by the personnel, Board of Selectmen, or a town meeting. I believe we have budgeted, town meeting has budgeted the amount for the health director's salary for this fiscal year. And I don't believe that the change, the letter that we got from the Board of Health chairman will meet the budget. I think if they wish to present an article at the special town meeting in the fall to request the change from town meeting, I think that would be a proper procedure, but to, submit a letter to the Board of Selectmen saying we are doing this now goes against budgetary constraints. And I went through some of my material, and I did find material that was given to the Board of Selectmen justifying this move under the authority to hire and fire the Board of Health. And they do have the ability to hire and fire. However, the part that they neglected was while General Law, Chapter 111, Section 27, gives the Board of Health exclusive authority to establish salaries, those salaries are subject to the provisions of budget law. And our budget was passed at town meeting in May, and those line items are what they are. And the Board of Health cannot change them unless there is another meeting by town meeting to move that money around. So I think we need to, as a board, send a letter back to the Board of Health saying, recommended plan of action that if you wish to compensate the Board of Health director for 4 days of at step 7, grade 10, then they need to submit a warrant article for that for a special town meeting.
I agree, and I think that letter has to be a strong message to them that that was a very poor decision on their part at a time when we are releasing other employees from their employment and decreasing hours for people, that they should feel that this one person should have more.
Well, again, just looking at the fees, because that's what the advisory board is going to be doing. The fees brought in by that department don't even begin to pay for the secretarial support, let alone the increase that they're asking for. It was around $11,000 that I counted up roughly, and he provided that information to us. So I mean, I don't understand how they can end up asking for that level of increase when the department does not produce enough income they can end up even paying for secretarial support.
To go along with Julie's information about the budgetary process and what they have authority over, there's also a note, I think some of those pages came out of the, it's a handbook for boards of health, all the laws, mass general laws and stuff. There is mention in there, I believe it's chapter 41, section 108A, that allows towns to set compensation plans. And it states in there that there's a gray area because there is no case law, meaning it's never been challenged. And I believe we have a legal opinion about 2 pages long from the former town council that in 2 pages says that very thing. There's no case law that it's never been challenged. So they don't have anything to say, we can do this regardless of the law that gives the towns the right to set compensation plan. In other words, to set the pay for all its employees. And I guess it's never came to an argument that ended up in court, so there's a decision, so anybody can look at it and say it's been ruled one way or the other.
Yes.
Years back, we talked about the Board of Health. We had Chris Ryan came in, the first administrator like Jeff is here. He cut the Board of Health. Stevens got mad, Stevens walked away. Wendy didn't like it. Billy Blaze gave her pay to make up some money of that. He cut the Board of Health. What's his name? The guy, the first administrator we had. He cut it. Stevens got mad and walked off. He walked off, and I went to Barry to get him to come back here. And Wendy Martin's pay was cut, and Billy Blaze gave her his pay to make up money for her, to check back the records. That's when Chris Ryan was here. People forget in this town. They got a hell of a memory to forget. Chris Ryan, and then Chris Ryan quit. I was the fool that drove him out because the Board of Health wanted me to drive him out because he wasn't getting along with everybody. He should have been still here. Town good health, goddamn good shape.
Yes.
I also think we need to address the issue of vacation
You remember
time.
that, eh?
I believe Mr. Ledger came on board in September of last year. Yeah, so I think the 4 weeks vacation is excessive. I believe Mr. Bennett has stated that 4 weeks vacation is somebody who works 15 years at the town. So we need to have a discussion, and I think to get the discussion started, we should probably send a, you want to do that?
You don't want me to do
No, I do.
Because you're going to do the letter. I can't do the letter and then have Jen. I'll have Jen. Fix the
I just, it's not going to go away, it's not going to get better if you ignore it.
Right.
I think we need to talk.
I think it should be made priority 1.
Dan?
Is there an indication as to what you're going to do as opposed to stir?
Couldn't hear you.
Is there an indication in the letter, the communication from the Board of Health, as to when that is to take effect?
I don't have that.
Okay,
It
so-
doesn't say when it's to take effect.
So your board does have an out, so to speak. If you have to approve the weekly warrants, you
Okay.
can not approve that particular line item.
I don't believe that the increase has been submitted thus far.
Because I signed it today, and it was not, the new one was not on there.
So we want to get that to them quickly.
And I'm not gonna sign anything that's submitted for more than 1 week of vacation according to the personnel policy.
He's on vacation this week. Is that his first week or his fourth week?
Did somebody approve it?
I don't know if it's signed off.
They wouldn't be paying for it till next week.
Yeah.
How long do you have to work to get 4 weeks vacation?
10 years.
10
years.
10 years, and how long has he been here?
Not even a year.
Not even a year.
And why's he getting 4 weeks?
That's
Special.
what I tell them.
But he's special. He got 3 months.
We have people that have been here way longer than that.
That's one of the things that the timesheet addresses,
That's right.
accountability.
I don't know if negotiated that
I was chairman last year. I was also on the personnel board. And they came before the personnel board and we talked about a range, okay? That Phil was not gonna have to start at entry level on grade 10. Okay, like the rest of us. And so, we gave them some latitude in the middle of the pay, of that grade, whatever step. And that's what was agreed to. There was nothing, there was no contract signed. There was no mention that it was only for 4 days a week, not 5. And there was no mention about the 4 weeks vacation. None.
Right. Let's see, what else we have? Discussion and action on increasing hours of the COA social worker. Is that something that you know?
Oh, no, I like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make a motion.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll make a motion to increase the hours to the COA social worker from 32 to 35, retroactive to July 1st. It was an oversight.
It was an oversight.
that we
I thought we
did.
fixed that.
I apologize if he Right, because everybody else got cut from 35, we got cut from 32. Okay, yeah, he put something. So the motion's been made to increase the social worker hours from 32 to 35 hours. Retro to July 1st. And do I have a second? Any discussion? Dan Dean?
Have the, if I'm gonna do this retroactively, have those hours of work and not paid.
Right, did you work 35 hours a week? That's what he's trying to say. He's trying to see if you're gonna get paid for 3 hours you didn't work every week.
Did you work the 35 or did you?
I've been working 40 right along, even though I'm only paid 32. Like, well, I'm a shy council. Is that against the law? I mean,
No. Only if you're not permission.
If you have no
I know
intention.
nothing. Shut that can.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
if she had that on her time sheet, you would have to pay her, right? If she had 40 hours.
I've been writing, but I only put 8 hours.
She's been, I did it.
Right. No, I'm saying, you know, from now on, time card, do it. If she has.
Yes. Yes.
Where is this money coming from?
Somebody gonna probably pass the cup.
What about town meeting? Town meeting was 32 hours.
Yes.
Sources would be a special town meeting vote this fall, which would vote the increase, an end-of-year transfer from available funds, which would fund the increase, or deficit spending, which would result in a shortage in the account along about the middle of June, and then the Council on Aging would have to stop providing service for the last few weeks, whatever it is, and we're running into the deficit. So those are the ways we'll fix the deficit. It will be true in any case.
Yes, Louise?
So the message you're sending all of us is for us to increase ours too, back to what we lost, and go to special town meeting in the fall too. The people that were hit was 23 non-union employees, and because the people have moved their offices, made new adjustments, or decided not to cut hours, it's gone down to 11 employees, 10 employees that got cut to budget, to balance budget this year. And now we're increasing somebody else. And I'm not picking on one department, but I am saying, so you're telling all of us to go back to town meeting to ask for more money.
We got cut more.
We all got cut too, Jenny.
More.
But you got more.
But that was a decision by their department.
No, it was
No,
not
no.
a decision. Eileen
Eileen wasn't
volunteered.
I wasn't here that night.
But how do you justify, like our department losing 10 hours, Carol Lee's department, Carol Harris's department, I think, lost 10. And then you've got other departments that, okay, well, they're just gonna lose this, 5 hours. Or I think treasurer's department, because nobody wanted to cut the treasurer. She was cut, her assistant was only cut a couple of hours. I mean, how do you justify that? It fell on us. It's like you keep beating up, our number keeps getting lower and you're beating up on.
To justify it, we were assuming that people were working 40 hours. We did council on aging first, and that took the 8-hour cut. And then during discussion, as we went through that Friday night, that very long Friday night, people were cut 5 hours. That's when we found out that the town clerk works 35 hours, not 40. We never did find out that the Board of Health director only worked 32. Was getting paid for 40. So to justify it,
Well, I
This position
understand
got
that
cut.
Penny got, it was unfair that she got 8, but what
Right.
we're saying, to bring her up
to make it consistent, that's what we're trying to do, is to fix something that was inconsistent from that Friday night.
So that everyone goes to 35 and nobody's.
And if you were at 35, you went down to 32. Right?
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, and how fair is that when you've got some people like Eileen, because she paid half by Mark, can't be cut. You know what I'm saying? It just seems
It's
like.
not fair, it was the best that we could do at that
I
time, we're
understand
trying
that.
to address something that was glaringly unfair.
Right, okay, no, I understand that, but, go ahead, let's speak up. No, it just seems to keep getting,
Because you beat up on the same 10 or 20 employees, and it's just, every time you want something, you gotta come to you guys. Oh, okay, maybe we'll give you back 3 hours. Oh, okay, we won't cut your hours. Oh, okay, we'll do that. You're gonna run out of people to cut.
yeah, and then as we sit here and you wonder why people are leaving or looking for other jobs, as you're sitting here with us, and then all of a sudden this person gets 4 weeks vacation, 3 weeks on his first year, and it makes them look like, what the hell are we still even working here? And basically, nobody's taking my workload off, as much as I love to.
That's why we're addressing that.
And as much as I'd love to hire a bunch of seniors to come and help me, our work is, you have to be certified to do it. And, it's not like we can, I don't know, sorry.
Whenever you make cuts, they're not fair because they're cuts. I have a sign on the office door, I don't know if you can see, it says no whining.
No whining.
There's a lot of whining going on both sides. All around there's whining. Well, I have not whined, but the Board of Selectmen's salary and wage budget was cut 37%. And if you want to hear whining, I can whine. 37%. Your budget was cut, what, 9%? 12%? Mine was cut 37%. That's why the sign's on the door. We will not fix these problems by whining about them. Penny Perini was, for the reason you just heard, accidentally hurt more than the intent of anyone and more than anyone on a percentage basis and an actual basis. And we're trying to correct one inequity. We're not trying to fix the problems of the towns with this one small change. And it will throw the budget out of whack, and we recognize that, and we'll have to do either a special town meeting or whatever you're going to do.
I just wanted to
say that I was at that Friday night meeting. It was not fun. There was nothing comical about it. It was not fair to anybody. I agree with Sue that the town's budget is balanced on their backs, but it needs to be, and one thing I heard consistently that night is one's fair for one, fair for all. And if one employee was cut extra hours, then that needs to be fixed. And there's nothing that we can do for the rest of them. It's just a sad, sad situation.
I mean, I understand that, and I sat there at that meeting too, and I heard one department head turn around and say, you can't cut me, I'm whatever, cut my assistant. Well, what the hell, I could have done that too, but, you know, I wasn't gonna do that. You know what I mean? And so.
She didn't think about it though. I was there.
Yeah, well, I'm happy you're trying to right the wrong, but I have a couple of questions. One is, where does the personnel board stand on these issues? And two, how much money are we talking? And that would include benefits.
Less than 50 bucks.
Benefits are accruing at 40 hours. So there isn't a benefit.
So you didn't make a change, when people's cuts, they're still accruing benefits.
They're accruing benefits at 40 hours.
It's pretty silly in my opinion. But so how much are you talking? How much money are you talking?
Are you doing the math? Yes.
My husband worked for DuPont for many years, and he was a union steward. And we talked about this that Friday night. And he said to me, Betty, he says, every once in a while, they had to cut back on the hours that the people worked. But they always kept their benefits stable, because it was not going to be a long-term thing. And to make things worse would have been to cut their benefits.
He's working.
It's like $4,000 or $5,000.
A week, is that
Times 50.
So, $60.
$21.20.
No.
That's just the portion, the salary difference, that doesn't include the town's portion of retirement, social security, and all that stuff, right? So it's something.
20. And it doesn't include retirement, the group health benefit is not affected, not impacted. The accruals on, the accruals on vacation, sick, personal are not affected because everyone was held for 40 hours, so that will continue. So that's the gross figure, absent extra county retirement, like,
Workman's comp, do you have that?
yes, that's included.
It's probably less than 25.
Yeah.
Mr. Dennis.
I'm just curious because, you know, it appears that some people that work for the town, key people, aren't very happy. How much money, when you go into your special town meeting, which will take place because you have to have it before you can even set the tax rate, how much money would the town have to come up in a special town meeting to replace what was, I don't know what word I want to use, I hate to use the word, but taken from these people like the tax collector.
To get their hours back?
To get it back. What's the total amount? And then the next thing is find out, and I think this gentleman here will maybe know the answer. Would the town be able to afford that at a special town meeting?
We don't know that yet.
Yeah, but what's the amount?
Yeah, that would take some time to figure out. That would take some time to figure out the amount.
In excess of $100,000. In excess of $100,000.
About 150.
In excess of $100,000.
About 150 million.
What's that?
That would kind of defeat the whole purpose of what you said.
Right. Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded, correct? Patrick? Yes. Jeff?
Yes.
Virginia? Yes. And Julie?
Yes.
Any other items? Virginia, you can go first, then Penny first.
So we need to, you know, the drivers need to know that. Yes, Kate said that she's in the process. So there was in progress. The last one was May. Just so I drive, you know, we need to know.
Yeah, just checking the line right, a little bit in the river. With the elementary school building committee, we need to, somebody needs to throw a dot forward as far as just to establish the first meeting and some type of protocol, so we can get on the schedule. One thing to say, hey, we made the team, nothing, we don't do anything, so.
And I'll talk to Ruth.
Somebody needs to just say, let's get going.
She's usually the one that sets those up. I'll talk to Ruth.
All right.
You know, today's the first day of school, so she's got what's going on. I'll talk to her about that.
So I know Mr. Ritz, our liaison to the state and the board, so we don't need the dialogue, no, they got to have it all covered all over again, so.
Yeah, I'll talk to her. I'll call her tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a little ball.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I went to a meeting at the Fernal School the other day, which had a number of people from the Secretary of Agriculture and several other people from the State Agricultural Department. Their goal for the vision for the future of the Fernal School is to turn it into agricultural land that's leased to individuals or companies, or so they can keep the operation moving up there. They want to keep the cow barns open. They want to keep the fields used, and they want to. Quite frankly, it was a little awkward because nobody there except for me, the director, and one gentleman who was at our meeting in Boston. Yes, David. Nobody else knew about the school project. So right at the end of the meeting, he said, I have to tell you guys one more thing, because they're thinking the entire place is going to be agricultural. And he said, we're already in the works to provide the town of Templeton with a piece of property. However, and this lady across from me, I thought she was going to fall on the floor when she heard this. She said, we have had an ongoing agreement with the education department, and no properties will ever be released from up here without appropriate mitigation.
Well, they're gonna pay us back taxes.
Yes.
There's your movie.
DCAM was not there. DCAM was there, they had one person there, yes. They had one person.
Yes.
What I told Virginia, knowing what I know about agriculture, because we go to a lot of the meetings, is I can envision them trying to float that boat for a few years and finding it floundering badly, because there is no money in making milk anymore, unless they subsidize it to the max. So I think their tune will change down the road.
Vermont
Cabot,
or is it
Cabot.
Their truck comes up there and picks up the milk. Yeah, so they do sell a lot, you know.
Yeah, but you don't know what they're making either. Probably not.
But my other comment about that is I really think that we need to get closer in knowing what they're doing up there, because they are, they're doing some sort of a waste management project that they really didn't talk about very much outside of the barn area, right? And I think the planning department at least needs to know what's happening up there, because guess who's going to be responsible for all that once they're gone?
So do we have no land for the school?
Pardon?
We don't have no land yet for the school?
Yeah, no, it's still.
Yeah, they're working on it.
It's still in negotiation.
Okay. So we can
The treatment, you probably, I mean, I have to know, like, I did one for the state in Carlisle.
Yeah.
The only thing they're talking, this so-called treatment facility they're talking about is the milk is the washings, when they wash the processing machines for the milk,
Yeah.
it's considered industrial waste.
Really?
It's just the washing, it's not the milk, it's actually when they wash down the tools and the apparatus, it's considered industrial waste. And so that's what the treatment center, everybody's hearing about.
You already know about the treatment facility?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know what they're doing is they're building a treatment facility for the wastewater, for the dairy operation. It's not it's not just sewage, it's just wastewater, it's considered industrial waste.
And don't we have to kind of keep an eye on what's happening with the whole sewage lab? They have all individual septic systems. And they are, by the way, planning on building 3 new residences up there.